Yeah, so she says hide. That's the first word. So to me, that's kind of an interesting start, especially given what the guitars are doing. You know, this very eerie, somber sound. Yeah, that word hide is like, it immediately opens up a whole bunch of questions. Like, is she hiding? Is she telling herself to hide? Is she telling someone else to hide? What are they hiding from? You know, it's just kind of a foreboding word to say at the beginning of a song that already has kind of a foreboding sound to it, or a foreboding intro. So yeah, so then she says, before the floodgates open, again, very, very foreboding, but also that idea of like floodgates, that means that we're talking about something kind of larger than life here. Like we're going big. I think that's important to keep note of, because, well, we'll talk about the scale of this song as we get further into it, but this song's cool. It's a little bit bigger than some of the other stuff that we've heard. So anyway, so she says, hide before the floodgates open. Can we just lie here till it's all over? Okay, so that can we just lie here till it's all over? Really cool. Really cool line. So we've kind of, again, we're setting up this very foreboding tone, foreboding sound. And this line captures a really unique feeling. It kind of makes me think of like, you know, like in one of those the old Call of Duty games. This is a real historical event, so I shouldn't say the old Call of Duty games, but like, you know, sitting on the boats before they're about to hit Normandy, you know, it's like calm before the storm type of deal, where you all know, everyone knows what's about to happen. We know that there's about, you know, something's about to go down, and you're almost hoping that like you could just hide from it, or you could just lie down and just wait it out. Yeah. And then that's what she phrases it, like a question too. It's like, there's just a part of her that wishes that's something that she could do. Like, can we just lie here until it's all over? It's really cool. Now she says the word we as well. But to me, I think that this feels very personal. Like she could be talking to a personal, like a close friend, but it almost feels like that kind of, I know this doesn't make sense, but like the singular we, like what are we doing today? Like when you know, sometimes I'll wake up and I'll just be like, all right, Cam, what are we doing today? You know, like that. It's like, can we just lie here? She also could be talking to the listener, but to me, this doesn't feel like she's necessarily addressing a crowd. Maybe she is, we'll see. But like, this feels like a very personal, like inner monologue type of line, where it's like, can we just wait? And then the next line, and the last line of this verse is, I hear the violence coming, turn and run. So again, that's really cool. So first off, she actually uses the word violence. So this is not an unambiguous conflict that we're getting here. This isn't like an emotional conflict. I mean, you could maybe say it is, or you could interpret it that way at this point, because again, we're going through the song in chronological order, right? And so at this point, maybe it's emotional, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like it. This feels like something brutal is about to happen, and for her to actually use the word violence is, you know, that's heavy. Like that word comes with implications, right? So yeah. But then she also says, I hear the violence coming, turn and run. And I really like that too. And we'll see. So to me, that almost sounds like she's talking to herself, like she's telling herself to turn and run, or she's maybe telling her, you know, the potential people that she's talking to, her companion, to turn and run, whoever it may be. So it almost seems like it's signaling a retreat. You know, there's violence coming, floodgates are opening. Could we just lie here and wait for it all to be over? Probably not. It's coming. We need to turn and run. At least that is what you would think it would be. But then let's listen to what happens next. So she says, damn to finally meet you in the afterlife. So, okay, that verse goes from, I hear the violence coming, turn and run, which on its own almost sounds like she's ordering a retreat, or telling herself and the people around her to retreat. But then she says, turn and run inside. which is kind of a little superfluous, but whatever. But not really though, because it relates to the next line. So she says, turn and run inside. You build your walls, but can't forget the hate you hide. Now that's really cool. So she's so that line that initially kind of signaled like a retreat, with this extra context, she is actually talking to an enemy. She is saying to the enemy, turn and run inside. You've built your walls, right? You've built your walls so you can turn and run inside your little fortress or whatever it is, but can't forget the hate you hide. So like the general thing to pull from this is that she is addressing an enemy. There is a clear adversary here. But let's break this down just a little bit more. So when you say like you build your walls but can't forget the hate, like first off, build your walls here is pretty cool because she used the word inside already. So there is a literal way that you could look at the walls, but then there's also the emotional or mental walls that people put up in order to block others from influencing them or hearing what other people have to say, that type of mental block that people will have. So it's cool. And normally when you say like you build your walls, but that's typically like an emotional or like a metaphorical wall. But in this case, because she says turn and run inside, it actually does give it just a little bit of a literal interpretation too, which is cool. Like she's saying you're like, go hide in your fortress. But then she says, you build your walls, but can't forget the hate you hide. Now, this is kind of interesting. She doesn't specify who can't forget. She just says, but can't forget. You build your walls, but can't forget the hate you hide. Now, the obvious interpretation is that this adversary has built their walls, the mental walls in this case, but they aren't able to get away from the hate that they have or that they've shielded from everyone. But I think also you could say like she can't forget the hate that this person has hidden. So that this adversary has obviously put on maybe like a facade, right? Like they hide hatred within their heart and now they're retreating. They're hiding from the people that it's affected. They're hiding from Amy Lee while she's storming the fortress. But I think that you could interpret it as Amy Lee, or the narrator in this case, can't forget the hate that this person espouses, but then the adversary themselves, the enemy, also can't get away from the hate that they've espoused, which is why they are now hiding, right? So yeah, it's cool. And I think when you pull just from at this point, there's a very strong conflict here. Our narrator has a clear vendetta against this person, and there's a very very strong feelings, like, and we don't know what's going to happen yet, but we've already heard about like floodgates and violence and hate, and like this is it's fairly heavy subject matter. So pretty cool. And then to end this verse, I think that this is one of the most interesting lines in the song. She says, or this is the pre-chorus technically, we're going into the chorus. She says, damned to finally meet you in the afterlife. Let's listen to that. Let's listen to the way that she says that. Right, so we're not going to talk about chorus yet, but just for that line right there, damned to finally meet you. So in this case, the way that I interpret the word damned, so like being damned can have a lot of different meanings, but in this case, I view it as being synonymous with the word cursed. Like, I'm cursed to finally meet you in the afterlife. And cursed in the sense that like it's her fate. Like you're damned to oblivion. Your fate is oblivion, right? Like my fate is to meet this adversary in death. Now it's still a little ambiguous what exactly that means at this stage, but you could say maybe maybe she will meet this person after death. Maybe they've already died, or maybe she's going to kill them and die in the process. That's what it is, spoiler alert. But like, at least that's how I interpret it. But regardless, the fact that she says, damn to finally meet you in the afterlife, it's like that word finally is important too, because this is something that she's like anticipated for a while. This is something that's been building, this conflict, and then for her to be cursed to end the conflict or encounter the conflict in such a way that they will meet each other in the afterlife. Yeah, it's a pretty hefty thing. And I think also, last little bit on this is that, we saw her wavering a little bit in the beginning, right? Like, hide before the floodgates open. Can we just lie here? Like, she knows what's coming, and it almost feels inevitable, as per that word damned. Like, I'm damned to meet you in the afterlife. Like, I'm cursed to meet you in the afterlife. There's no way to avoid it. It's just interesting that, like, she has very strong feelings against this adversary, but she knows that how this is going to her, the ending feels like it's inevitable. She's going to die, or this person's going to die. There's going to be violence and a conflict. And she almost wishes that she could just lie down and let it all pass, but she can't. We don't know why, and we don't know how this conflict will end, but yeah, at this point, just going into the chorus, we've got so much built up already, such a very robust story happening, a very robust conflict. A lot of really cool stuff happening with the lyrics here. Before we dig into the chorus, let's talk about the music, because there's some cool music that happens here as well. So let's go back, and I'm going to play it again.